it doesn't make much sense to take that option in singles. Now remember, we've got the sun, we've got a little bit of wind, so they'll be thinking about that as they warm up. So who's going to spin their racket? Okay, Laura's decided, and she asked her if she wants up or down. Up. She says she's taking up, so it comes down onto the ground, and it is up. So now she gets to pick what she wants.
I'll serve.
She is going to serve first, so then Laura gets to say, okay, do I want her to make her look in the sun first? Because even though they're playing singles, both of them have to serve into the sun. Laura says to herself, do I want to make her serve in the sun first? That way I might have an advantage. Or does she say, oh, it's a little windy, so I think I want her serving against the wind first. So she decides what she thinks is going to help her, because being the server is a little bit more offensive.
I will stay here.
She will stay here, so yes, she has to serve into the sun first. So we're going to start off with our warm-up. It's what they're going to do before we actually start the game, and we're going to fast forward through it. We're just going to talk about how we do it. So they're going to start off with their little mini tennis first, and then they'll graduate to going back and hitting some ground strokes, possibly some lobs. Then one person will come up practicing on volleys, the other person will come up volleys, and then they'll have their 2-minute warning, and they'll start on their serve process. Serving and serving both sides, and then go from there. And then once that happens, then the server person, Jane, has the balls, and she said this is going to be the first serve. Are you ready, Laura? And she says yes. Now remember what the symbol is if you are not ready. Your racket goes up in the air. For some reason you have to scratch your nose or to do something, the racket goes in the air. You can't change your mind midway. So we're going to watch them, and again we're going to speed forward. We're not going to take the actual 10 minutes because they've warmed up, but we're going to start this process. So Jane's going to go decide where she's going to start off with the warm-up, and Laura's going to come to the side where she's going to warm up with. I'm going to step off over here, commentate while they are doing their warm-up. So our mini tennis is like half volleys. Remember we talked about that? The mini tennis is half volleys. So they're going to warm themselves up, their footwork a little bit, position of the racket, kind of figure out about the wind, keep it in play. That's what they're looking at. A little half volley, anything that kind of fits their feet warming up. And notice that they're only warming up with 3 balls because, remember, we don't want balls under the feet because of safety issues. We don't want balls in their way to be distracting. And there's so the game balls that they're going to play with, that they've been assigned to. Remember one of the things I told you about, that one can of balls, all 3 balls in the can have the same number. That way you keep track of the balls on your court. They've decided they've had enough mini tennis. They're going to back up to the baseline area. They're going to work on their ground strokes, possibly some lobs if they want to test out what the wind is like. They're always going to keep track of the balls. They want to make sure balls don't go into somebody else's court that they might have trouble with that. So forehand and backhand ground strokes. This is a very compatible warm-up. You don't want to be a yuck and try to purposely hit as hard as you can or as far away from the person you're warming up. You don't necessarily want to make them run or hit right at them. You want to do the warm-up so it warms you up. That's why it's called a compatible warm-up, because you're helping each other out. So forehands and backhands, maybe a little ground strokes, maybe a little whatever. Now Jane says, I'm ready to warm up my volleys in case I get to volley during the game. So you see how she's moving up on that little short shot that gave her a chance to warm up her approach? And now she's going to work on her volleys. This also gives Laura a chance to work on her defensive shots, possibly to try to go pass or over something, and then she'll ask Jane, do you want me to hit you a couple of high shots just so she has a chance to practice on her overheads? And she'll say, oh, yeah, I guess a couple will be fine. She kind of pointed her finger up, and that's kind of the signal that says I'm ready from the volleys. I'm ready to do a little bit of high balls in case by some reason, which Laura doesn't plan on hitting any short lobs, but just in case she does, then she'll have a chance to hit those short lobs. And also, Jane has a chance to see how much the sun's going to affect her. She can hit some high backhand bumps, or she can hit some lobs that come up on a bounce. Now she says she's had enough warm up at the net, and so Laura comes up to the net. And Laura's going to hit some volleys. They're going to kind of change it up. Some of them are higher, some of them are lower. The only bad thing about doing warm-ups and volleys for a regular game is that because of this, we hit shots back and forth to each other. Now you see that ball rolling right by Jane's feet. I'm sorry, Laura's feet. That's why we don't let that extra ball out. Jane's the one who saw it, so she made sure that play was stopped so she could pick it up so Laura wouldn't accidentally run over it. Now notice that Laura is going towards the ball. She doesn't wait for the volley to come to her. She's going towards it. Some of you keep writing to me and telling me that the reason why you don't like volleys is because it scares you because they come too fast, too close. Remember, the tip is meet the volley as it comes to you. Meet the volley so that you're always stepping forward ready to get the volley in front of you. Now in a game, you're going to want to put the volley somewhere other than back the person. Now Jane is going to hit her a couple of high shots, and I want you to see how she tracks the ball, meaning Laura, how Laura keeps her eye on the ball. She turns, and then she gets ready to use, remember we choked and said kind of Statue of Liberty that she does, that she gets her arm up in the air so that she's kind of tracking it like a serve or a serve toss. She's lifted up, she's turned sideways, she's got her left arm up, she turns sideways, she's got her left arm up, and she goes towards the ball. She doesn't let it get behind her. So now they both feel really comfortable. That was just for grins right there. They're both really comfortable, and now they're going to start serving. The last 2 minutes of a 10-minute warm-up are reserved for serving. Jane's already got the ball, so she's going to serve from right to Laura. Laura has a choice if she wants to serve back to her or if she wants to try to return it. That's Laura's choice. And so what this does for Jane is it gives her a chance to toss the ball, to get her toss going, to look at the box. Remember, we have to find a pathway when we serve. We don't want a bad toss. Remember what I said about bad tosses? Bad tosses usually make bad serves. So we want a good toss, so as we toss it up, we're reaching up, we're looking at it, we have a path into the box. We also know that sometimes if the ball goes too long, it's because we're not snapping with the wrist. And we sometimes know if the ball goes short and hits into the net, we're probably not looking up. We probably have dropped our head. So those are some of the do's and don'ts of serves we talked about before. Now, once they feel good about serving right to right, then they'll practice serving left to left, which is the odd court, sometimes called the add in or add out, advantage in or advantage out. Remember, you always start serving on the right side. Regardless, you start serving on the right side. That's for all even numbers and start of game. Left side service is for all odd numbered points. It's the next point in there. Also, too, remember, the notch in the middle, the center service mark, divides the right side from the left side, and you cannot step on or over the line, otherwise you lose your serve. Back to serving, you get 2 attempts. If it hits the tape, it's called the lat, and if it falls into the box correctly, then you get that serve again. If it hits the tape, a lat, and does not fall in the box correctly, you do not get it. They are finished with their serves. They like their serves. They like the returns. Jane sends her hands up. That's the signal that it's ready, and Laura's ready. First serve. Good serve, just long. Laura stuck her finger up that said it did not land in the box. Second serve. Good serve, good return. Just wide. That was a really good idea to do that nice little approach shot. It went a little wide. Laura makes sure she gets herself in position to make a good call. So the finger usually means it was wide or long. Just a little long, so she gets a second attempt. Laura's going to keep the ball so it's not anybody's way. Second serve. There it is. Good serve. And the return went in the net. So now we're back to even. 2 points have been played. Jane's a little farther away, but Jane would be saying 15-15, which is the same as 1 point to 1 point. First serve. Just a little long or a little deep or a little back. All those are the same thing. It did not land in the box. Second serve. Good serve, good return. Short ball. Here it goes. Try to pass her down the line. So you saw that Jane came in on a short ball, hit it at an angle, and then Laura tried to pass her. So now Jane has 2 points. Laura has 1. So the score is now 30-15, which is an odd score. So serving left to left. Good first serve, good return, ground stroke, short approach. Oh! Short ball, back through no man's land, even score, 30-30. They both have 2 points. First serve was a fault because it landed short. Second serve, here we go. Yes. And no. Now, if Jane had decided to hit that ball before it bounced, she would have had to play it. But she let it bounce so she could call it long. So now it is 40-30. If Jane gets this point, she will win the game. If she does not, it goes back to deuce. Just a little wide. So she was 40-30, won 2 points in a row. So that ends the game. So if you add it up, she had 4 points, Jane had 4 points, Laura had 3, so 7 points were applied. That was a minimum of 4. So did you see how they changed sides? Because after odd number games, first, third, fifth. Now we are 0-1. Server always calls their score first. Second serve. Oh, we got her rattled because we were talking about her. So, when you miss 2 serves, it's called a double fault. One was short, one was long. Jane has the 3rd ball, so that way Laura always has 2 to serve with. Second point. First serve, very nice first serve. Good return. This is a good rally. Short ball. And there it was. Usually they say short ball makes a short ball. If someone hits a short ball to you, you usually hit a short ball back. So now the score is even, 15-15, or 1 point to 1 point. Good return. Another little short ball. Jane has to come up, and Laura has plenty of room to do something. So when Jane hits that short ball, she needs to put it away from Laura, otherwise Laura can go past either side or angle or over her. Now Laura has 30-15, 2 points to 1. Good first serve. Return was in the net. Now remember we said too, if it had hit the tape and gone over in a rally, you just keep playing. So now the score is 40-15, 3 points to 1. Hold up just a second, Laura. So on this 4th point means that if Laura gets 4 points, this 4th point, she will be a minimum of 2 ahead and have 4 points. It's game. So for Jane to stay in it, Jane has to get this point. She has to in order to keep her from being 2 points ahead. Sorry for the delay. 40-15. Second serve. Oh, good try, good try. So here we go. It is now 40-30. Again, Laura's in the same boat. If she wins this, she will be 2 ahead. So the pressure is more on Jane now to stay in the game. First serve, 40-30. just a little back. That means it was deep or long. Second serve. Good. These are all called rallies. These are all called rallies right here. So that was game because Laura got 2 points ahead. She actually got 5 points to the 3 points of Jane. So now they are tied at 1 game to 1 game. Now remember, the difference between regular scoring and no add is the first who gets 4 points. They do not have to be ahead by 2. Game point is 1 game to 1 game. Okay, that was a good first serve. The return went in the net. Once you have multiple hits, that's when we refer to it as a rally. Oh, it hit the tape. You could hear it. It went in the box correctly, so she gets both serves. Good serve, good return. Starting the rally. Here's a short ball. Jane has to run up. And she hits a nice, what they call winner, which is a passing shot, which was across the court, that Laura was unable to touch with her racket. That's what they consider a winner. So now the score is 30 love. That means Jane has 2 points. A little long on that first serve. She still gets the second serve. She's making her run. She's going to hit away from her. She's up at the net. So what she did was she kind of kept her off pace. She hit deep and then short and then across. So she's trying to figure out where to go. So this is the first part of seeing some strategy in our games here. 30-15. Oh! Now if she had hit her on the fly, or if Jane had decided to hit that, she would have got that point. 40-15. Good serve. Oh, good try. That had a lot of good points, and the serve was stupendous. The return, she got it back. Then Jane should have put it away, but she decided she wasn't sure if she did. So that was a really good rally. So now they're changing again. Now on the changeover, they could choose to sit down and get a drink or talk to each other or whatever, because you have a certain amount of time between odd games. Now Laura's going to say her score first, which she now has 1 game to 2 games. Remember, server always says her score first. Good serve, good return. Good shot. Oh, that was a great rally. I'm going to clap for that one. Everything about that one was great. Good serve, good return, good rally, good short shots. Good approaches. We did all of those last week on approaches. Second serve. Oh, just long. Now see, that was a little deceptive on that serve. If you notice, that serve was a little shorter than the one she hit before, which made Jane have to run up. So your serves are not always have to be consistent. They need to be because they need to go in the box. They need to be put in play. They need to be consistent. But not consistent from the standpoint of where they land in the box. Second serve. Now she wants to watch that ball, because if that ball comes out too far in the court like it is right now, then she's going to want to take it out of play, because she doesn't want to run over it and she doesn't want it to be a distraction, but she doesn't get that serve again. And that was a little wide. Now if somebody had hit that ball and had come into the court from an outside source, Laura would have been able to take that serve again. Oh, there she goes. A tad long there. The server always has two balls, and the receiver always keeps the third, so she'll have it. Server score first. 30 all. That means they're tied at 2-2. Just a little wide, closer to the double sideline. Good return. Nice cross court. Here's an approach. And a pass. Okay, now this goes back to watching. Jane was there up at the front, but remember what I talked about in the volleys about trying to do a V? You want to cut off the angle, so you want to go towards the ball, not to do a parallel path, but a front path, going towards it, cutting it off with that V. 40-30. Just a little wide. Okay, so that is game right there. That would be 2-2. And you'll notice, guys, come on down. You'll notice that they do not change sides, is what they don't change sides, because now they're even. I'm going to have them come over while our guys' singles are coming. Now, while our guys' singles come in, we're going to come over and talk about a couple of things. And the guys are going to be in the background. The guys are not going to warm up because the guys have already warmed up and you already know the warm-up process. And the guys already know where it is that who's going to serve and who's going to receive. Now, everything that Jane and Laura did could be moved from regular scoring to no ad scoring. What you do is 1, instead of it being 15, becomes 1. 30, instead of 30, becomes 2 points. 40 instead of 3 points becomes 3, and then when it's game, it's whoever has 4 points. So that's how you shorten it because it's space. So the girls are going to come over for a second. The ladies are going to come over for a second, and we're going to see how we could have gone even Steven. So you saw how even they were playing 1-1, 2-1, 2-2. They could still keep doing this forever as they could keep going on singles. Remember the parameters of the set are somebody has to win 6 games and be ahead by 2. 6-0, 6-1, 6-2, 6-3, 6-4. It cannot be 6-5. It can be 7-5, but it can't be 6-5. That's not a true set, but you could play a pro set. So I'm picking on them, and they really don't know that I'm going to pick on them about anything. But remember, we have summarizations. So you can summarize part of the singles now, and they're going to give you some things that they just have to say about singles that makes it a little bit different than just playing recreational or just coming out and hitting. And then we'll pick on the guys for the same thing. They get a little bit of an edge. So if I had to ask you, what do you think would help you, your singles game, playing Laura, play like you don't know her, but what do you think is the important for singles that would help your game?
In order to ever beat Laura, because she has such a great forehand and backhand, she likes a lot of pace and a lot of power. So I would do a lot of high, deep balls on her, because that will frustrate her. So that would be the key for me to.
There you go. So that's what you pick up on, and hopefully you will have seen some of that when the playing was going. Okay, now I'm going to ask Laura the same thing to tell you what she thinks about Jane, and then we'll say in general what are things after that. So what do you think about Jane?
For Jane, she's consistent all around, so I usually do with her what I do with anyone. In singles, the important part is putting the ball where someone isn't.
There you go.
So that's kind of the key to winning, is trying to set up a point so you can put the ball where your opponent isn't.
There you go, make a move. Now remember, it's something to go back and reflect on. Both of them have excellent serves and both of them have excellent returns. Remember what I said, if you cannot serve, the ball does not get served. You get how many points? 0 points. And what did I say about return a serve? If you cannot put a ball into play returning, you get another 0 points. So it's wonderful if you have great forehands and backhands and overheads and volleys, but if you don't get either one of those things into play, you still don't get any points. So just in general, even though we've just now summarized what each one would do with each other playing as opponents, what do you think in general there's something a little off on that regular schedule that we do if we don't spend more time working on serves and returns. And I bet they'll tell you the same thing as I do. If I go someplace and do a drill group, 99.9% of the time when you drill, they never work on your serves and returns. They only work on the format of your game. So having said that, I need for you guys to really, really work on your serves and really, really work on your returns. Now we're going to watch the guys and we're going to pick on them, and the girls are going to dress them down. And then these two groups are going to get together and they're going to be playing mixed. So we're going to go into mixed. Okay, this is Wes and Peter. You can see them as little bitty people far away. And Wes won the serve, so he's going to serve first. Is what he's going to do. He's going to be the first server. Peter's going to return. You saw Peter before when he helped me with the volleys and the half volleys. So now we're going to watch the guys play. Remember, the parameters are the same. Where you stand, where you start. Toss. No pressure, guys. No pressure. Good return, good serve. Oh, the wind caught it. Okay, but did you notice how he chipped it and he was already coming into the net? So let's think about the game with strategy now. Now that we've gone through the singles game and the girls have given information, now let's think about how this applies to strategy. We really want to see if that makes a difference. Second serve. There we go, good. Nice little chip. Oh, good guess. Good go. He was there, he was there. But did you notice how he went forward on it? That's a big thing right there, to go forward. And you also notice too that they're putting a little bit more into play some of their points. Here we go. It is love 30. Good serve. Nice and deep. Good return. Ooh, that was going to be nice and low and really hard to get to. So be thinking about they're doing a little bit more on their strategy, keeping it in play. So now it is love 40, which would be the same thing as 0 3 points. Wes is going to do something top notch right here. Here we go. Great serve. Oh, good catch. Oh, great move. Do you see how the short ball caused another short one? And did you see how it was important to be at the net, to be able to do the reach and go towards that ball for him to get it? Okay, so now the score is 15-40. Wes only has to get 14 more points on this one right now. Here we go. Good first serve. Yes. You notice also, too, how Peter relocates to the middle of the court. The middle of the court so he can be ready. So that was the first game. So now we're going to switch sides because at odd games we still switch sides. We're going to do the same format. So here we go. And again, they could choose to. It's the first game. I don't think they really need to sit down and rest. But since it is the first game, they could sit down, get a drink, check the balls, do something. So now what is Peter going to say? He's going to say 1-0. One game's been played. Here you go. Okay, first serve fault. You see how he's going to go get it because that one jumped out towards him. If it stayed by the net, then he could leave it there. Okay, nice cross court, a good serve to start with, a good return to put it in play, and then he got Peter a little out of position. Okay, again, a short shot. So you're seeing strategy along with all the shots we've been worked on. The approach, which is coming up to the net. The short volleys, which are not hitting back to the person back behind you. Now you'll notice that when Peter and Wes did exactly the same thing, that they stand a little bit farther away from the center service mark because their serves have a little bit more of a jumper angle on them. Now we did talk about the underhand serve, and we said it is legal. It is a tool that a lot of times when someone wants to do off pace or maybe someone's shoulder's not doing well or it's just a short serve, you can do an off-pace serve in order for someone to have to change their return. Score is 15-30. Good return, good serve, good cross court. Oh! Okay, now that goes back to where we talked about also. We need to be sure that we get in front of the ball. We try not to outrun the ball, so we go towards the ball. So now it's 30-30. They both each have 2 points. A little wide on that second serve. Now it's going to stay at the net. He doesn't have to get it. Another little underhand serve. Oh, almost got it. He's fixing to hit Peter in just a minute with the racket. I want you to see how much everybody, ladies including with the guys, how they're always moving to get in position with the ball. Always, just in case something happened, they're in position to get to the ball. That's really important. So now we are tied up 1-1. Peter needed to win that point in order to get that game, so now they each have 1. Hold up just a second, Wes. Remember also we talked about serving? We said that if you win your serve, it's called holding serve. If the person you are playing against wins your serve, then it's called breaking serve. So right now, both of these guys broke each other's serve. Peter won when Wes was serving. Now Wes won when Peter's serving. So now they're going to try to do what's called stay on serve. They're going to try and win their serves to be ahead. So it is 1-1. It's a little long. Second serve. Good little chip. Good. Almost, almost. So you see how that little short shot at the net, the volley, puts the whole thing out of kilter. That means he really has to move a lot faster to get it. He doesn't give him enough time to return it. So that's 1 point to 0 if we were doing no add. Good toss. A little long. Second serve. Little long. Okay, so that's called a double fault, remember, when you don't get either serve in. Just in case he didn't know, I wanted to remind him. 15-15 is 1 point to 1 point. Okay, now we're going to watch that ball because it's coming back. So we're going to go ahead and get it because we don't want Wes to trip on it because he's been coming up to the net. Now, Jane kicked her ball out there. Jane kicked her ball out there accidentally.
Oh, sorry about that.
Then she says, I'm so sorry. Wes goes over and gets his other ball because he now gets to serve 2 balls because this ball came from another court.
Thank you.
Jane was playing and she didn't get it, so now he starts with first serve. 15 all, first serve. Good get though, good get. You see how far he had to run to get that? And did you see how Peter backed up enough so he could let it bounce long and not try to catch it in the air? He wanted to make sure it was long before he hit it. 15-30. Just a little long, that means it was back behind the line. Really? Good shot. Good shot. There's a good serve, too. 15-40. I meant. Good serve. Nice and deep. Okay, it's now 30-40. Peter has a little bit of an advantage because he's 1 point ahead. Just a little wide, so now it's back to deuce. Now remember, somebody has to win 2 points in a row now for the game to be over. Somebody has to win 2 in a row. Okay, now this is going to be called game point. Once you go past deuce, add in, add out. This could be game point, it could be set point, it could be match point. This is game point right here.
Add in.
Oh, bummer! Just wide, just wide. But you see how your decisions are there. Peter waited to see where he thought that Wes was going to go, and then Wes waited to see where Peter was to see whether he could put it away from him. That goes back to one of the comments that Laura made. You're trying to hit where they are not where they're at. Good serve. So that goes back to the premise that we need to get our serves in and we need to get our returns in.
Add in. Second serve.
Oh! Great point. Nice rally. We're seeing a lot of angles, a lot of short shots, passing shots. Peter waited to see where Wes was going to be, and then Wes was up close enough to cut it off. So this is our second deuce. Now deuces can go endless. That's why they invented the no ad game, because you could go to deuce forever. There's no limit on the number of deuces you could go to.
Second serve. Nice.
Nice, nice. Just a little wide.
Second serve.
Oh! Game. Now that was a let on a rally, which is a net shot. You play it regardless of how it comes off of the net. Now they are 2-1, and again they're breaking serves. Nobody's holding their serves yet. We're going to do one more game, even up with how we did with the girls, and then we'll have the guys come over just like the girls and give their take on it. There would never be this much talking like I'm doing during a game because it's very distracting for people to do that, but this is kind of how we're doing it to give you information. Also, too, the games could keep going from here, so you want to remember some of the parameters. Okay, 2-1.
2-1 level.
It's a little long. It's a serve and return. Okay, second point. Okay, now also notice too where they're standing on the returns, because sometimes the serves are a little deeper, so they have to give themselves a little bit more room behind the baseline. chance right there, and a lot of times it pays off because Peter didn't back up, so he hit more towards him with the volley. Peter could have backed up and then he'd had the advantage. This time Peter stepped into it. So it's 40 love. Second serve. Okay, so that was 2 faults, so that constitutes a double fault. So a point for West. So now the score is, watch out, 40-15. 40-15. Just a little long, a little back. Little long. Now all the calls are made by the opposite person, meaning that when Peter is serving, he can't make his own serve calls or his own line calls. So those are the ones that Wes makes. This is when our sportsmanship comes into it. Remember the rule that if it's not clearly out, you can't make it clearly out, then the ball is good, you play it as good. Whoa, good try, good try. Okay, so that was game because it was 40-30. So they're going to shake hands whether they want to or not. And then they're going to come over here and go with a couple questions that we're going to have for them right now. Now again, like I said, there would not be this running commentary that I have going on right now. Nobody would do that. This is for our teaching purposes so you can see what's going on as they really play and then what's going on as they don't. Now I'm going to give you a plug here, even though Wes was on the shorter end of the stick this time. We won a tournament together, and we got the bobblehead doll to prove it. I have to tell you that. So it has to do a lot when you play with strategy. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more in another section. So I'm going to tell them, or ask them when I did the ladies, what is the most important part, do you think, of playing singles?
Singles is keeping up where your opponent is, I think, for me. Because if you keep hitting it at them, it's just going to keep coming back to you, or they're going to have the upper hand, really, honestly.
What do you feel like?
I would say just making sure you start the point off right. Get a solid serve in, or if you're receiving, of course, get a solid return in. Sometimes we try to do too much.
Correct.
And we cost ourselves a lot of free points.
Correct.
So yeah, I would say just being consistent and giving yourself a chance.
Good, good. So that goes back to what we talked before, that the ladies said the same thing. If you don't get the ball in play, serve or return, then you don't get to enjoy the playment. Now, all of this stuff that we've been doing, keeping score, talking about the score, talking about this, there is absolutely nothing wrong with going out and playing singles and playing with people that you don't have to score. You don't have to keep score. You don't have to even serve. You can just put the ball into play. But what I will say, and I've started this from the beginning, when you put the ball into play, don't put it into play with something that's never even hit. Remember I told you don't just ping it back and do weird stuff and everything. Have some type of shadow effect that at least mimics one of your strokes. That's going to be approaching your fundamentals, and that's going to be keeping with them, so you're always reinforcing them. So that when you do get ready to say, I really want to play some serious tennis, which just means something that's going to be scored, then at least you have the background for it. You don't go in just totally going, what was that shot I just hit? Now these guys, the women and the men included, nobody had bizarre shots. Nobody hit off the butt of their racket, the handle, weird off the strings. We didn't see any of that. 9 times out of 10 when you watch people play and you go to matches, that's going to happen. And there was only, out of all this play, only one little net shot, and that was at the very end, and it really wasn't as much of a net shot. It was just kind of a little low, so you didn't think it was going to go over. So we didn't have really anything unusual happen that you had to stop and say, is that okay or is that legal? Most of this was textbook going exactly what we wanted to in singles. So you have women's singles, you have men's singles. You talk about scoring, we talked about the lines, we talked about rules, we talked about regulations, we talked about sportsmanship. All of that going in, we talked about how to warm up. And everybody has the same thing that they say is its importance. So doubles lesson, which will be later on. I'm probably going to double up and use all these guys again so you'll be familiar with them. Men's doubles means two guys, a guy's team against a guy's team. Women's doubles means a women's team against a women's team. And there's not really any difference in the scoring, any difference in the rules and regulations. There is a little bit of mixed doubles, and I'll have that little section there later on for you to do as far as that goes. Our singles play word of the day is octopus. I have no idea why I chose octopus today. I don't even know if I remember how to spell it correctly. But octopus, that I need to know octopus under your 3 summarizations. And you already saw 2 of them that were exactly the same between the men's and women's singles. So be sure you have octopus put in there, since I've said that 3 times already, in your summarization. And any questions you have, then email me at my.tcc.edu email. Please don't send to Outlook because it makes it really hard for me to get that stuff in Blackboard. But send me any information you want. If you want to make any nice comments about all of our volunteers, if you want to ask anything or get them to tip out anything, be sure and let me know. Don't forget that Peter's over at Richland Tennis Center on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 12:30 to 2. So don't forget to get as much play as you can. There are some open area tournaments. Be sure you go to those for extra credit. Okay, so we will see you next week when we start talking about doubles. Bye.